Hi everyone, it's Jerry. I have an instructive positional game to share with you. This was played in 1969 on the white end Mikhail Botvinnik, playing against William Lombardy. Alright, this one here begins as an English opening, but we quickly transpose into a Sicilian defense. We're looking at here a Sicilian defense, accelerated dragon, Maroczy Bind. So this grip over the d5 square, how to break the bind on d5. In general, black should be looking for a successful b5 break, peeling away the c4 pawn from the d5 square, maybe next shooting for d5. Black is not successful in breaking down this bind. First things first, how to address this pressure on the knight. Continue to develop. Let's get some more developing moves in here. I will be throwing a pop quiz your way shortly, an important middle game moment coming up here. Knight takes knight, bishop recaptures, queen a5, rook f d1, and after rook f c8, let me throw this position to you as a pop quiz. Move 13 here. How would you continue? Feel free to pause the video. Okay, follow-up from here is bishop captures knight. Normally, you don't want to give up this dark square bishop for the knight. If you do, you better have a meaningful follow-up. White does. Let's see what that is. After bishop takes bishop, we now have knight d5. Okay, queen's in tension. This sequence here, capturing the knight, and then following up with knight d5. This is the first moment where it's there. This happens only after the queen is defended on d2. Queen takes queen. And now no immediate recapture. We have an in-between move. Knight takes bishop with check. Now black is playing a clever move now. Doesn't take the knight. Plays king g7. If you take the knight, this d pawn is going to be very weak. So it's king g7. Okay, only now we take the queen, right? No, yet another in-between move. Knight h5. In playing in this way, white does not care about being on move. White cares more about creating a long-term static weakness in black's camp. What am I talking about being on move? If you take the queen here, king takes, white's on move. But there isn't any structural defect in black's camp. What are you supposed to pinpoint? We don't care about being on move. This is a more technical position. Knight h5. Pawn takes knight. Rook takes queen. Black is on move, but black has a big weakness. And this will now be the focus for the remainder of the game. Let's see Botvinnik's approach here in this endgame. Nice middle game sequence right there. All right, from here we have f6, b3, rook c5, f4. This is a fantastic move. Can't really extract much more out of one move in such a position. Controlling some dark squares. The king is now ready to play a role, maybe getting to this strong central post. Something that sticks out to me about this position, aside from this glaring pawn weakness, this case of double isolated h-pawns, if we look at the king positions, in general, what color complex do the kings want to stay on? Dark. Staying off of the light squares with the light square bishops around. Where is a comfortable dark square post for this king? Your eye should generally be looking somewhere towards the center. There doesn't really, the king doesn't really have a good dark square in the center. White does. This is a fantastic post, e3. That can maybe play a role in some cases. Identifying, hey, I have a great post for my king, and you really don't. All right, from here, we have the doubling on the c file. Now, this may be, rather than rook a to c8, this may be the first moment where you question, can I finally get that b5 break in? The answer to that is no. If black tries b5 here, white can respond with b4. And the rook is kicked from this 5th rank. This is purposeful pawn, robbing the rook of any of those 5th rank squares. So it'll be flushed back. Only then, white will go ahead and take on b5 and be up a pawn. So b5 not working. Black doubles up. Rook to e1. Bishop to e8. b5 is still not there. We still have this same idea. Give the rook a shove. Chop on b5. Bishop e8. Some defense for the pawn. Bishop takes a step back. And this is paving the way for rook e3, rook g3, rook h3. There is this half-open file. So not only are we working here, not only are we looking here at double isolated h-pawns, but we have somewhat exposed king. Could be questioned with the check here on g3. Follow up from here, bishop f7. King improves. a6. Rook e3. Okay, is black finally ready to play b5? In this game, we have rook a5. If b5, we once more have available b4, and then we could chop away on that b5 square. So it's still not available. Rook a5 is the try. In comes a4. Normally, playing with the same color bishops, you don't want to be positioning your pawns on the same color square, but it's justified in this case. By playing a4, we're increasing the grip over b5, and if b5 is not in there successfully, what's a way to look at it? These rooks don't really play. Their presence is not felt. From here, black returns, bishop e2, kind of passing moves. There isn't really a great idea available for black in this case. Follow-up check. Decision time for the king. Ends up going to f8. The alternative, going to the edge. It's the end game. Do you want to be on the edge? Also, you're sort of asking to be in a pin. Rook h3, g4 ideas. King goes to f8 here. In comes rook h3. Rook 7 to c6. And now f5. So once more, again, in general, we don't want to have pawns on the same color square as our bishop, but it's justified here. We're cutting off the rook's defense of this half-dead h5 pawn. It's going to fall shortly. Rook b6, not yet. If you chop away on h5, in the end, the b pawn will fall. White's b pawn is much more valuable than black's h5 pawn, so we must first secure b3. From here, black plays rook b4, and it seems that we're just a moment away from black finally being successful with a b5 break. With the rook on b4, those ideas of meeting b5 with b4 are illegal. This turns out to be a blunder. Now, the top move in this position to keep it close to level, we're talking 0.5, somewhere between 0 and 0.5. Top move here is rook to e5. Put pressure on this e4 pawn. And after the king improves, this is where it now wants to play rook b4. We're going to see a big difference with this move order shortly. This is one of the top lines in the end. It calls it even. b5 is finally there. And this rook, in fact, both black rooks will spring to life now with this construction here, with this bind finally broken down in this late middle game stage. Why does the following move here in the game, rook b4, not work with next up b5? Let's see. Play follows here with bishop captures on h5, and black falls back here to g8. What's nearby for white is the capture of the bishop, capture of another pawn, a very active rook. Let's see what that would actually look like if black allowed it. Let's say b5 was played here. chop on f7, chop on h7. The king now has to run in this direction. If you're going to these two, you're going to get mated shortly. King f8, there's a check, followed up with rook 3 to h3, and then into h7 and be mate. Also, if king g8, similarly, well, we'll double up straight away, and next up, stack the rooks on rank 7 and 8 for checkmate. So the king would have to run over here in such a position. And keep in mind, this is a nice continuation here. You could establish another passed pawn, in this case, another passed rook pawn. This is a winning position here for white. Very active rook, and the passers in the position. White's winning. Now, what is black's response to the capture of that half-dead h5 pawn? It's to back off to g8 to secure that h7 point. But now comes this clever idea by Botvinnik, rook to h4. And this move pretty much prevents the bind from being broken, prevents that b5 move. Black's play from here is with e6. He gives the king some air. At the same time, big weaknesses are created. d6, f6 become targets. They end up being split, isolated. White is just moments away from forming a battery on the g file. This prevents the b5 move. In the game, e6 is on board. Let's once more revisit b5 in this position and see why it is not working. This one took me a bit. When I made my initial pass through it, I wasn't quite sure how this wasn't maybe tending towards a completely equal position after b5. Well, there are tactics. There is a vulnerable king, in fact. Here's how white can respond to b5. Either rook to the g file. So let's go with this one. And now if black takes in either direction, let's follow the general rule in this case and take towards the center. White is winning after rook d to g3. There's a problem with the bishop. What are you supposed to do about the bishop now? Barely has a square. And if you move it to f7, we can take on f7. And if you take back, you're going to get mated in just a few moves with rook g8, preventing the king from slipping away. And next up, the rook gets to the 7th rank. That's beautiful. Initially, when I saw that f5 move, it was only at the time to cut off the rook's defense of h5. Well, in this variation right here, we're seeing that it plays a key role in weaving a mating net, preventing the king's escape. All right, b5 never happened in this game. What do we have after rook to h4? It is e6, and this is just the mopping up phase at this stage. We're once more defending the b pawn. A second pawn will now be lost, and there's not much that black can do from here. So let's see these finishing moves. The white continuing to improve the pieces. Black is in a pin nearby. There's bishop g4 with rook to d7. Plenty of ways to convert this one, being up 2 pawns. Rook e6, bishop g4. King gets out of the way. Rook enters. And after this, bishop goes into a pin. A little bit curious that Botvinnik did not just go ahead and take the rook here. He goes with a check. And after king f7, the game comes to an end. Resignation. I'm assuming it wasn't some loss on time. There's no reason not to just go ahead and take the rook. Maybe Botvinnik didn't even want black to think about maybe getting some stalemate position. The king, bishop can't move, but that's a long ways off. That's not going to happen with all these pawns still around. It's a pretty clear-cut mate from here. Nothing is preventing the follow-up rook f7 check, and rook takes bishop for mate. But for whatever the reason, a check was flicked in, and after king f7, this one comes to an end here in white's favor. So very nice positional game here. This was a 41 mover, but really the key moment, just revisiting this early stage, key moment, pop quiz moment, move 13 here is really what set the stage for the rest of the game. It's capture on f6, knight d5, and these back-to-back in-between moves. Knight takes on f6, and then knight h5. Not caring about being on move, but instead caring more about this forming this long-term static weakness in black's camp. Anyhow, what are your thoughts with this one? Feel free, as usual, to leave any feedback to this video in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed it, and maybe took a thing or two away. That's all for now. Take care.